Yesterday, the president of Israel, Isaac Herzog, was in Washington, D.C., and he met with President Joe Biden. And there was a moment in the Oval Office that was somewhat disconcerting. Take a look.
And we brought Israelis and Palestinians together at a political level, and Aqua and Paul Schramm. Yes. And
That's some stirring leadership right there. I don't know if he fell asleep. You know, it's so cute when they talk in their sleep, isn't it? I think he was reading notes off of his laptop. Either way, it doesn't stir the imagination with robust leadership on this ultra important cooperative relationship we have between Israel and the United States of America. By the way, President Herzog also addressed a session of Congress earlier today, and some members of President Biden's party boycotted it, calling Israel an apartheid state. So things are going great. Joining us right now is the founder and editor-in-chief of the Foreign Desk. She is Lisa Daftari. Lisa, thank you for joining us.
Of course, thank you for having me.
It's so sad to me that it all depends on the latest presidential election to tell us where things stand with our relationship with Israel, because after all of these years, we should always have a great relationship with this country. Where do things stand right now under the Biden administration?
You know, it's absolutely true. This flip-flopping that happens in the White House, the foreign policies have been entirely shifting. And this is as of President Obama's presidency. Before that, we used to see, more bipartisan leadership regarding things like Israel, terrorism, national security, right? Things that really are just logical and make perfect sense. So I will start with the more optimistic view that, look, regardless of who's in the White House, that fundamental core relationship with the state of Israel, between the United States and Israel, will always be there. Now, does it matter that on the surface, presidents like Obama and President Biden have created some distance between themselves, and particularly with someone like Bibi Netanyahu? Absolutely, it matters. And we can see that based on the amount of anti-Semitism and Jew hatred that we're seeing throughout the world, and particularly in the United States. It's a direct reflection of so many things. What's going on in our universities, what's going on with these hateful ladies in Congress, what's going on with Biden calling out Bibi Netanyahu, et cetera. So it absolutely matters. It absolutely affects our relationship with Israel. And President Biden and his administration should know that the optics really do matter.
And it's not just President Biden, it's his entire party. You mentioned these ladies in Congress. You mean the squad, of course. One member of the squad, Congresswoman Jayapal from Washington, she said at the Netroots conference over the weekend that Israel is a racist state. Then she amended her remarks. She said, oh, I don't think the idea of Israel is racist. I don't quite get the distinction there. But then her cohort, Rashida Tlaib, she boycotted the speech in Congress, and she held up a big sign that said, ban apartheid, obviously calling Israel an apartheid state. This is outrageous, Lisa.
These women need to be schooled first and foremost. You see it all over social media, but you don't expect people who are actually elected into office in the United States to be saying these untruthful narratives and spreading them as if they are truths. First of all, nobody cares that they didn't show up. Nobody missed their absence, nothing like that. But the fact that they do put this on social media and they do try to propagate these narratives, they are trying to paint Israel as a white-only apartheid state. Arabs live in Israel. The happiest of Palestinians live in Israel.
Yeah.
The ones that live in the Palestinian territories actually wish they lived inside Israel so they could have the same rights and freedoms that Arabs living in Israel have. That's first of all. Second of all, there are plenty of Black, Ethiopian, brown Jews. This is not a white state that is causing any sort of apartheid. It is the only democracy in the Middle East. They actually have a gay pride parade. I mean, look this stuff up before you spew garbage.
Yeah.
And lastly, if they're elected officials in the United States, they should represent and love the United States. If you love the Palestinians so much, go become a Palestinian representative.
I got to ask you, Lisa, when you put it that way, I mean, it seems obvious on the face of it, but would you rather be a Persian or Arab Muslim living in Israel under their government, or would you rather be a Jew living in any of the other Middle Eastern nations? And it's pretty obvious the answer.
You have to, exactly. And I have done so many interviews. You could look this up. In 2014, exactly, I remember it was Operation Protective Edge. And I interviewed so many Gazans. I mean, they were under direct fire, and they blamed Hamas for mismanagement, for putting them in harm's way, for putting them in places where their children were getting hurt by missiles, and they were not blaming Israel. If you speak to individuals and not just look at whether it's the left media in this country or the left media in Israel or these hateful ladies who should not be elected into Congress or hold any office for that matter. I wouldn't even elect them into our library board here locally because they are not fair, they are not factual, and they're filled with hate. I mean,
also, Lisa Daftari, that all of this is going on at the same time that the Biden administration continues to demean our nation, grovel to the mullahs in Iran. They're jumping through. They're doing whatever they can to restore this relationship with this evil government in Iran and try to allow them to continue down the path of developing nuclear weapons. What is the latest now on the Biden administration's overtures to Iran?
You know, this will go down in history. And I say that because yesterday I wrote an op-ed for Newsweek saying that President Carter owes the Iranian people an apology because of his involvement in helping to topple the Shah and bring in the Khomeini mullah's regime. And now we're seeing President Biden do the same. Now, his administration said earlier on, when they took a step back from the nuclear negotiating table, that they do not involve themselves in regime change policies. Fine, but now they are helping the regime, and that's what the Iranians inside Iran say. If you're not going to help us, don't stand in the way. So what the Biden administration is hoping to do is get a nuclear deal before their term is over. Remove that will include removing the sanctions, letting them off the hook, allowing this bad behavior, whether it's human rights abuses, whether it's putting money into global terrorism and regional terrorism, and of course continuing on with their weapons program. We've never seen any good behavior by giving them all this money and normalizing relations with them. We've never gotten anything in exchange. It looks like this is what the Biden administration's ideology is. This is what they want to do. They want to normalize relations with this mullah's regime before leaving office. And the people of Iran are noticing. And again, this will go down in history.
Yeah, so you've got the Biden administration basically cozying up to the Iranian government and helping them, it appears, to their end goal of acquiring a nuclear weapon. You've got Joe Biden nearly falling asleep and mumbling his way through this appearance in the Oval Office with President Herzog. You've got congresswomen calling Israel an apartheid state, calling Israel a racist state, boycotting the address by the president to Congress. How does this all affect the actual people in Israel, the boots on the ground, the actual Israelis who we've always been able to rely on, who really are like our brothers and sisters there in the Middle East?
You know, it's funny, you touched upon two countries that absolutely love the United States, and that is the people of Israel. They love the United States, and they are probably our biggest fans in the Middle East, and also the people of Iran that are looking towards the United States in a very loving way. I mean, what you hear about the propaganda of the regime of saying there's big Satan and little Satan, actually another important angle here is actually the relationship between the people of Iran and the people of Israel that have grown much closer in the past year. Ever since the Masa Amini protests inside Iran, they've gotten a lot of support from the people of Israel. They have taken note, and they know that they have more in common than not. So hopefully there will be something like a Cyrus Accords in the future and bring the people together and remove these horrible dictators from Iran's regime.
I love that positive outlook, and I really do yearn for a day where the people of Iran can be free of this totalitarian regime. Yeah. And we can actually cooperate again. That would be a beautiful, I can't imagine seeing it in my lifetime, but at the same time, when you look at the Abraham Accords under President Trump and the peace that we now see between Israel and countries that had been mortal enemies just decades before, I guess anything can happen. It just takes leadership.
It takes leadership, and the time is right. The people of Iran are ready. The region is ready. All they need is a little bit of support and some organization, and hopefully we'll see it happen soon.
Imagine if the energy from this administration that they've put toward normalizing this evil government, if they had actually put that energy toward reaching out and helping the Iranian people and helping give voice to the protests that we've seen the last couple of years.
Or at least put pressure on the regime so that the people can get it done themselves. This will be a grassroots movement. This absolutely will be a grassroots movement, but they do need our support.
And it puts into focus the very important national security and foreign policy implications of this upcoming presidential election. That's why we read The Foreign Desk, and Lisa Daftari's very good views there. Thank you, Lisa. Great stuff as always. There's more to come. Keep it here. It's O'Connor Tonight.